First of all, I just ask you about what happened towards the end there. Obviously, a few little melees, as we call them, around the places. Was it a niggly game out there?
Not really. To be honest, I stayed away from it. Being as tall as I am, they'd probably pick me out if I went in there, so I tried to stay away from it. But I don't know, to be honest with you. I think Leroy got a second yellow to go off as well, so that's a bit disappointing. But look, we got the win. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, just throughout the game, though, because obviously there were 3 sendings off if you count the 2 Galway men as well. But it didn't seem all the time like that sort of a game.
No, but look, I suppose Galway, the last couple of years we've had it easy against them, and I suppose they tried to impose themselves a little bit today. It didn't work for them, but you know, they're the ones on the losing side with two fellas getting sent off, so that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the key point, isn't it? You have had it easy against them. How much more beneficial is this now for you?
Look, it's hard to know at this stage, but you know, Galway have got good players. We know that. Kevin Welch come in this year, and we expect them to be a lot tougher. And it was, you know, we probably let them in with the 2 goals, or poor goals from our own point of view, to give away from sloppy balls from our half back line. So there are things we need to work on going forward.
You were involved in the most bizarre goal, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't know, can I take credit for it, but yeah, went on a run, and I think Manis came out and fly kicked the ball, and I think he came off one of their defenders and went in, but we'll take it. Any bit of luck we get, we'll take it.
Are you enjoying this role?
Yeah, it's nice. I've got a bit of freedom around the park, and I enjoyed it in there today. Got fouled a bit too much for my liking, but it was all right.
Do you think when you're big and strong like you that you don't get perhaps as much protection as other players?
Look, you know, it depends on the day, but it was very open there today. It's very easy for the referee to say when you've blanket defences, it's much more difficult to spot these things. But you know, look, got protected there today anyway.
Well done, Aidan. Thanks very much.
You.
OK, Aidan O'Shea chatting with Joanne Cantwell. Pat, what did you make of Mayo's victory?
Well, the game itself was at times enjoyable, at times very scrappy. 51 frees, 10 yellow cards, 3 sendings off. Mayo's victory deserved, but when they went 6 points up after 4 minutes of the second half, I thought they were going to close the game out. Either 2 things happen with great teams. They either close the game out like Donegal did against Armagh, or they just drive on and absolutely destroy the opposition. And that would disappoint me about Mayo. The positives for Mayo were, you know, their experience. They're 5 years on the road. You know, they're an experienced team. That experience shone through. I mean, Kevin Walsh, first year with Galway, they're in transition, there's no doubt about it. The positives also for Mayo, Aidan O'Shea, very, very impressive. Outside of that, you know, if you drill deep into the statistics, they got 7 points from playing the entire game. They were handed 8 frees. So a workman-like performance, but, you know, I'd have expected more.
Did you expect more from them, Joe?
I think that, you know, again, the problem is this sort of hesitant tactic. You know, they're not throwing their full weight behind it and moving the ball quickly to O'Shea. There's far too much so. I mean, Lee Keegan, I mean, it's just solo running, head down. Colin Boyle, get the ball, head down, solo run. You can't do that in a modern game, especially if you've got someone like O'Shea in there. I mean, 6 easy tap over frees, a goal and a point. I mean, he was the overwhelming influence in the game, in spite of the fact that they only sort of deployed him in a half-hearted way. And what Pat says is absolutely right. You contrast with Donegal. Twice in the second half, Mayo were 6 points up. Very reminiscent of the All-Ireland final against Dublin. 4 points up, in control of the game. Give away a ridiculous goal. I mean, a ridiculous goal that Donegal or Kerry would never have given away. And again today, 6 points up in the 38th minute, 6 points up again in the 48th minute, and still they're bringing Galway back into the game. You know, the goal, I mean, that was basic stuff. Hand pass. The first goal again, the bigger teams wouldn't have allowed that to happen. They simply wouldn't have allowed it to develop. You've got to admire Mayo's, I suppose, innocence. And I mean, I've always admired the way they play the game and the way they stick to that principle. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, if they've got pretensions to win in All-Ireland, the one thing that's missing and that's required urgently is ruthlessness.
Yeah. Which we saw from Donegal. But look, let's have a look at Aidan O'Shea. Start of the second half made a huge impact on we thought it was going to seal the game for them even at the early stage.
There were 2 things that were clear. If they kick the ball in, they're going to win the game, and 2, Finian Hanley's going to very quickly get sent off. Now, he didn't get sent off, I suppose, up until about the 30th minute. But O'Shea is... He's just so powerful, and he's two-footed. He caused blind panic every time he was in there. Now, what Mayo need to be doing is working the way Kerry do. They need to work with him relentlessly in there so that he's laying the ball off to other guys coming through for goals. At the minute, it's pretty one-dimensional. They're kicking it into Big Aidan and they're hoping for the best when they do kick it into him. That's a pretty good tactic on its own. But if they can work on that properly, getting the wing half forwards into position, getting the ball to them so that they're kicking long diagonal balls to the edge of the square. It could be a devastating tactic for Mayo. It would also allow them, rather than pouring forward from their half back line all the time and soloing, it would allow them to play more defensively while at the same time having a balance between defence and attack.
The problem
in football.
I suppose, for Mayo in regard to Aidan O'Shea, that he's a bit like Michael Murphy in that, you know, remember that fellow Red Adair that used to be pulled upon in emergencies to cap oil wells?
1:15.
I thought in the first half we played poorly. I thought we were ring rusty. We made a lot of errors and lost our shape at times. But in the second half, in fairness to the boys, they dug deep and corrected a lot of those errors.
Possibly to go on the point after half time was really it was a chasing job after that. Had our chances maybe after that, but just didn't take them. So as a team this quality with Mayo and been around the block for quite a while, you know, you can't give away a goal and a point in 3 minutes after half time, and they'll probably pay for that sector of it.
We just viewed this as a championship game, a job to do, come up here and win and get home, and you know, ultimately we did that. Performance wise, you know, happy with some things, you know, not at all happy with other things, so there's loads of room for improvement.
Yeah, and that victory, of course, means that Mayo are through to yet another Connacht final, where they'll play either Sligo or Roscommon in 5 weeks' time. Well, Dermot Early, your reflections on that game. I mean, nobody from Mayo seems to be getting carried away by it.
No, they're not. I think, look, coming into this game, I was expecting big things from Galway. You know, since 2007, they've had two under-21s and an All-Ireland minor, and they're a maturing side. Under new management, which is always a bonus in the first year. And they had good wins over New York and Leitrim. They have a strong midfield, and they've proved that. And they're very creative in attack. But the big question about Galway was their defence. And I think today, those questions still need to be answered. Cillian O'Connor scored 8 frees, in all given away in and around the D area, and you just can't afford to do that against a team like Mayo. I was expecting a big performance as well from their midfield, 2 quality players there, but the stats show that they only broke 50-50. And even up in defence, Shane Walsh was a massive loss for them. And I'm sure if he was playing, he has that extra little spark to tag on a couple of points. So he was a huge loss for them.
All right, that's Galway. What about Mayo, Tomas? They march on yet again. I mean, a lot of people feel they were very unlucky to lose to Kerry last year.
Yeah, I suppose, look, there's any time Mayo come to Galway and beat Galway down there has to be a good day. You know, there's positives out there. They have a lot to pick up on after the day. There have a lot of mistakes made that they will. It's early in the season as well. The Mayo team you see today and the Mayo team that will finish up the championship will be a lot sharper. In the second half there, when Danny Cummins got that goal, they replied well. They tagged on a couple of points when they needed to. But there's still the same question marks over Mayo. The big one would be up front. Have they got these scorers from play? They rely on Cillian O'Connor a lot. Andy Moran kicked 2 points all right in the first half. But other than that, until the game actually freed up, there weren't these scores coming from play. At the back, at times, they were open. These are concerns. You're basically looking at the same Mayo team that were there last year, and it wasn't good enough. They have to give something more. You know, they have to give something different than they were giving to last year. But having said that, it is early, and they will improve.
OK then. Well, Kevin Walsh referred to that blitz at the start of the second half killed Galway.
Absolutely, Des. It was the key point of the game, those 3 minutes in the second half. You know, and if we look at a graphic, I suppose, you know, they got 1-3 in that period, and I suppose from a Galway perspective, you know, they went 13 minutes, and when a team gets a run on you like that, it's about bouncing back, and they failed, and that period, have the 6-point lead, really made a difference. It was the start of the second half. We look at Aidan O'Shea here, and this is leadership. You wouldn't look closely at Tropes, but he goes up and takes a ball powerfully and delivers a great ball into Dermot O'Connor. So straight from the off, there's a free, you know, simple score for Cillian O'Connor. From the resulting kick out, you know, they get the goal. Again, Dermot O'Connor into Aidan O'Shea. He's a lot to do. He probably carries the ball into the tackle. He loses it, but he persists. And Manus Bratnock, unfortunately, where you would like your goalkeeper to go down and pick up that ball, secure possession, he swings a boot at it off Finian Hanley and straight into the back of the net. Yeah. So then, straight after this, a couple of minutes later, and this question when it's a free, Kevin McLaughlin, I thought, you know, a little harsh, but obviously Galway descent. And Porrigue brings the very generous 13 metres to his, in my opinion. And what he does is creates a scoring opportunity for Cillian O'Connor. all of a sudden you have a 5-point game, and Galway didn't have the forward power to get back into it. I thought in general it was a scrappy type of match, you know. I think Galway tried to bring it down to a certain level. They tried to get physical with Mayo. They've been accused in the past of being too nice, and that led to a lot of disruption, a lot of fouls. You know, Mayo only got 7 points in play. Sometimes when you win a game not playing to your potential, it's a good thing. So I think Mayo can take the positives in that regard from it.
And briefly, if that goal hadn't gone in, because it was a jammy kind of goal, do you think it would have made a big difference in the end?
Well, it certainly gave them a platform, Des, and like Mayo didn't put them away. When they went 6 points up, they probably should have put the foot on them and put them away. And Galway did rally and get back into it, but they were never going to turn around. Damien Cohn went out of the game. Danny Cummins was ploughing hard up front, but they didn't look like they had the firepower, and I thought they fatigued a small bit as the game went on. Mayo had the bench, they had strong players they were able to bring off the bench to make a huge difference. Galway didn't have that strength and depth, so I think that Mayo still would have won out in the end.
One of the areas that Tomas said Mayo will have to improve on is in defence.
Yeah.
And you want to highlight that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the 2 goals that Galway scored today were walkthroughs, basically. I think if Mayo are going to threaten later on in the All-Ireland, that's the area that they need to tighten up. And if we see here from the graphic that we can see Paul Conroy moving forward, you see Gary Size there ahead of him. There's 4 Galway players on the far side, and not one of them goes over towards Gary. Tom Parsons tried to make a tackle, but it's the wrong way on how to tackle, and that's an excellent finish. They're certainly going to have to tighten up if they're going to have to stop that. Again, in the second half, again, Damien Comer comes out, nobody around him. He draws Kevin Keane, nice pass into Padarogo Grifa, and a ball across to Danny Cummins for a finish.
One of the issues on that, if you look at Mayo previously and they're under new management, and you wanted to see today what was the new Mayo about. They changed the full back, they changed the centre back, but as Dermot alluded to, they still have problems on the edge of the square, and they're going to have to sort them out.
They need to sort that out. As you said, the only change that I can see, and you mentioned it as well, was that they actually moved Aidan O'Shea in full forward. There's no other change to this Galway team, and there's a huge reliance on Cillian O'Connor, an absolute huge reliance. I saw a graphic there where when he is playing, there's a 64% chance that Mayo win. They perform. When he doesn't play, it's down to a 29% chance, and that's how much of a reliance they are on Cillian O'Connor.
Valuable man. You noticed something about their style and their kicking game today, Tomas?
Yeah, it is. I suppose there's a lot of talk about hand passing in the modern game and all that, but Mayo today at times use the kick passing. You can look at this 2 ways. You can look at it from a Galway point of view and the space. You've Kevin McLaughlin here. Aidan Shea caused wreck inside in the full forward line. It'd be great. They have Tom Parsons, they have Shamie Shea, they have the likes of Barry Moore out the middle of the field. If they could afford to leave Aidan Shea in there, he's a kind of a guy that would win a 60-40 ball for you. But it was obvious that Mayo were targeting him. Lee Keegan put in a good ball here. Now look, there is an amount of space in there. When you come across the bigger teams, the Dublins, the Kerrys, certainly the Donegals, you're not going to have that space inside there. And if Aidan Shea gets frustrated inside there, but Mayo used it today. They can only play what's in front of them. Galway were wide open at the back at times, and they used that long ball. They used it to great effect, especially in the first half, and they got a lot of frees out of it. It's a part of the game, I suppose. There's a lot of direct. You have Donaghy today, Donegal used it today as well, the direct ball in. It's something you can make hay out of as long as your kicking is good. As long, I feel always, if your kicking is good and if you move the ball fast is the key. A lot of teams can't move it fast, but if you can move it fast, you can cut out a lot of players and get through and get scores.
Right. One last thing on this match, Kieran. A few viewers have been on to us saying there's a lot of ugly pulling and dragging in this match, and that if it was an Ulster game, there'd be a lot of negative publicity. And what did you make of it?
Yeah, and that's a fair point, Des. And this is a problem in the game. And we spoke about this a few weeks ago. The players know the boundaries. They know what they can do. They know the rules. Nobody will lift a fist. You know, they will pull and drag. And David Clark's a little bit lucky here. He does lift his fist a small, but it's not too vicious now. But this has crept into the game. We've seen it in numerous games. In my opinion, it's quite simple. The third man in, if they could amend the black rule, that the third man to get involved gets a black card, simple as that. And if 2 guys are getting physical with each other, okay, let them at it within the rules. But if the third guy comes in, he's given a black card, I think it will eliminate it very quickly. This bit at the end, like, one of the other issues there is it was 4 minutes injury time, and this wasted, a good 2 minutes. And I wish referees would start recognising that fact when teams are trying to slow down the game in injury time and add that time at the end of the game, because that was unfair to Galway.
That's one of the most common points that has come into us tonight. that the time is not added on when it's wasted like that. Let's go to our man of the match then. Who have we got as our nominees?
Our three nominees, Des, the first one was Gary Sice, obviously scored that wonder goal and kicked 1-3 for Galway, a key man in the forward line today. The second was Keith Higgins. If Mayo had 3 Keith Higgins in their full back line, they'd have no problems. He was very dominant force back there. And the last one was Aidan O'Shea, the powerhouse in the middle of the park, but well utilised at full forward today.
OK, who did you go for in the end, Darren?
Yeah, we went for the powerhouse at number 11, Aidan O'Shea. A fantastic game from start to finish and was the difference really in the end for the Mayo victory.
OK, it's not his first time to win it. Well done, Aidan. Let's hear from him. He spoke with Joanne after the game.
Aidan, straight after the final whistle, you're obviously reserved in making judgment. This is something that you're used to. You want to go back in, consider everything before you decide what went wrong and what went right, is it?
Yeah, look, obviously, from playing the forward line, you get to see an awful lot of it. But the 2 goals obviously came from misplaced passes from our half-back line, which was disappointing. Something we'll have to definitely tidy up for the next day. But overall, we'll have to be happy coming out of here with a 4-point win. Obviously, with 2 setbacks to the goals, the way we responded, it was definitely a positive. So overall, we're happy.
Yeah, those balls into you as well, it's vital that they're got right, isn't it?
Yeah, look, there was an awful lot of space there today. I suppose the surprise element is gone now, so we'll be there the next day. But we'll work on something ourselves, and the boys did very well feeding me the ball today.
Yeah, and that is why you are the Aircom man of the match as well. Here is Jerry King from Aircom to give you the award.
Yeah, well done. Well, we've lots more action to come from Ulster, Munster and Leinster. Indeed, that